Hello. Good evening, or whatever time of day it is where you are. Um, Apologies for the long intro if you got here early or are a VOD watcher. I was caught a little bit behind this evening on getting ready, but we are ready now, for what will be the final, um, leg of the Route 66 adventure. If you were here last time, you'll recall we were in Kingman. There we go. There's a parking brake. We were in Kingman, Arizona. And yes, from here we will be going roughly 400 miles to. Actually, let me see what the. We'll be flying exactly 400 miles to our final destination, Santa Monica, California. And give me a second here. I just want to see something. Oh, yeah. Okay, we're good. All right, sorry about that. Let me get back to my pre-flight here. Fuel quantity, good. Fuel selector, good. Circuit breakers, normal. Alternate or static air, normal. ELT armed. All right. Nav lights on. Strobe lights on. Power lever. Full forward. Mixture lever. Full forward. Boost. And ignition. Alright, lean for max RPM. Okay, there. Engine is warming up now. Alright. Avionics on. Alternators on. Okay. Go back to engine synaptics for a minute. Alright. Alternators are working. Power looks good. Oil pressure good. Alright. This up. Come on. The controls on the Garmin G1. The Garmin G1000 is a great piece of tech, but the controls could really be better. All right. Okay, next thing on the list. Flight plan appears to be loaded, so that's good. Okay, altimeters. Set local. Transponder. Okay, it's VFR and standby. GPS. Autopilot. Test.
Engaging autopilot.
Okay. Pre-select. Autopilot settings. We need. Okay. All right. Now what? All right, PFD settings are how I like them. MFD set how I like it. Flight control check. Rudder full right, rudder full left, neutral, elevators full up, neutral, elevators full down, neutral, full left roll, neutral, full right roll, neutral. Okay. Elevator trim. Set. Alright, I think we can get this bird in the air. Nav lights, strobe lights. Okay. Whoop. There's a plane there. Okay. Did not run into the plane, so that's a good sign. Alright, and if you'll recall from the last flight, we are in scenic Kingman, singular, Arizona. Which is not very far from the border with California. This is the biggest. This is actually, I think, the biggest airport I've been at this whole trip. All right. Okay, engine run up, or pre-takeoff checks. Just bear with me. All right. Of course, feel free to ask what any of this is for if you are curious. Alternator test. Ignition test. Right side. Left side. Fuel quantity, check. Altimeters set. GPS on. Transponder to altitude reporting. Autopilot pre-selected. P2 heat on. Flaps. Takeoff position. Mixture full rich. Fuel pump boost. Elevator trim set. And switch fuel tanks. All right, let's get this baby in the air. Landing lights on. Flaps up. Okay. As is customary, I'm going to pull up this now, and it's going to take a while to load. Alright, that actually wasn't too bad. Alright, so here we have Kingman, Arizona. Kingman's... let's see what I have here. It's that Kingman is host to yet another Route 66 museum. No surprises there. We also have the Mojave Museum and the powerhouse that was used as the primary supply thing for the construction of Hoover Dam, which is a couple miles to the north of here. Not in scope for today's flight, but is nearby. I think we'll be checking out Hoover Dam sooner or later. Some interesting terrain blending there. Thinks that's not entirely issue with my notes. Should be all right now. Yeah, it's you know, out west they love Fallout New Vegas so much that they made Hoover Dam real. It's quite incredible, really. Does this plane have a parachute? Yeah, it's the same one. Parachute's under here. I'm not you're not baiting me into touching it again. How you doing, bad boy? Chillaxin'. That's good. Sorry to hear about your sorry to hear about your Baldur's Gate, but you know, Happy to have you here at least. Now, normally I just program my flights to be about midday, but I've got it set to late afternoon here. Hoping to reach Santa Monica at magic hour. We'll see how well that actually worked out. Alright, below us is the location of Lois's location of Cool Spring Station. My first roadside highlight of the night. And once we get past that, we have a rather infamous part of the old highway. So I think most of the places that are in New Vegas are going to be a bit farther north than this. Good Springs is a real place, but this isn't it. Anyway, coming up here, we have a very notorious section of the old highway, which is very twisty and has like something like a 2,000-foot drop. Sitgreaves Pass. Down below us is the city of Oatman, Arizona, which was once upon a time a mining town of some yes, a gold mining town, a gold mining boom town, and its current claim to fame is the feral burros that occupy much of or that are just wander around Oatman. Story is that when the town, when the mine dried up, the miners left the burros behind, and now they're just everywhere. Now we have the Mojave spread out in in front of us in all of its glory. So for reference on the map, we got my flight plan here. Las Vegas is this yellow spot here. Hoover Dam would be somewhere about there, I think. I'm gonna have to, yeah, the way the terrain is for this trip, I'm gonna be messing with the altitude a lot. Switch fuel pumps. All right, ahead of us is Beale Lake, which is part of the Colorado River. Follow it north. You end up at Hoover Dam. Follow it south, you end up at Lake Havasu, the famous recreational destination, famous spring break destination, etc. Location of the masterpiece film Piranha 3D. Bring the speed down a little bit. We're going to be doing a little bit of twisties. Alright, up ahead we have the twin cities of Top Rock, Arizona, and Needles, California, on their respective sides of the Colorado River. The Colorado River forms the boundary of the two states. So, yeah, we are on the final leg of this thing. once we cross the river. And I have... wish I had a better picture. So, crossing... So we have Interstate 40 crossing Colorado River here, and then the old highway crosses the river over the Trails Arch Bridge. See here. Trails Arch Bridge was built in 1928 and was the longest arch bridge in the U.S. at that time. Can be seen in the original Grapes of Wrath film from 1940. Alright, and never mind. Okay. This is higher than I usually do for flight seeing, but we're gonna have to stay here for a bit. Yeah, it turns out I lagged slightly. Needles is not a twin town to Top Rock. I got my notes mixed up a little bit. This is Needles coming up here. Of course, we love our roadside attractions. got like a bunch of miles of Mojave up ahead, so yeah, just enjoy the view, such as it is. To the north, we have a national wilderness area known as the Dead Mountains. Don't think I need to add anything there. Hello, Feathers. How are you doing? As you can see, we're in the Mojave right now. But the finale of this is coming up, and finale of this trip should be a little bit less than 2 hours away. So yeah, good. It's a good day for it. Happy Pickett's charged it. Is Pickett's charge on the 2nd? I'll take your word for it. I thought Pickett's charge was on the 3rd. Yeah. Happy Battle of Little Round Top Day. You know, some history. So neither of you were here for Tuesday's stream, but I went through the Petrified Forest National Park, and lo and behold, today they released an update for the art for it. So go figure. But again, I'm hoping that Los Angeles proves to be a sufficiently dramatic ending for this whole thing once we get there. Okay, coming up right here, we have the very small ranching community of Goffs. And it is an old schoolhouse converted into a history museum. Combination of there's some Route 66 ephemera, but yeah, GOFFS, and also some Mojave Desert ephemera. To the south is Paiute territory, which I don't know what they would want with it, but you know, at least we gave them something, I guess. Yeah, there's unfortunately going to be a lot of not much to look at or talk about until we get to Barstow. It's hard to say. But, this is California. We crossed the Colorado River a little bit before you joined in. All right, this crossroads here. This crossroads here is at a town called Fenner. As you might be able to guess, it doesn't rain in this region much, but I am told that the road is prone to flooding when it does. Looks like it's all dirt at this section. I think that's a train. I think that's the Santa Fe Railroad, like we've been following for a while. This looks like it was an airstrip, but it's not listed on any of my things, so... I don't know what to make of that. I guess I should be pulling up the next hill while to the north, we have Clipper Mountain, and to the south, we have Old Woman Mountains. Both wilderness areas. I haven't not decided what I'm doing with tomorrow, but it is going to be it is supposed to be 96 tomorrow, so I don't think it's going. Whatever I do, I don't think it's going to be outside. Yes, you should absolutely buy more orange clothes, though. Okay, so this ridge that we're going to pass over here are the Marble Mountains. Having driven through all of that desert, you might be delighted to see some buildings up ahead. Unfortunately, you're going to get there, and this is what you're going to find. Well, the sign is very charming. Roadrunner's Retreat has been closed for 30 years, give or take. There that is. To the south, we have the bed of Bristol Dry Lake, which, as it sounds, is and looks as dry most of the time, but does fill up with water during the couple times a year it rains out here. Yeah, deserts are not. Humans were not meant to live in the desert. Alright, just up ahead here we have Amboy, which is also more or less a ghost town, but it does have an active motel and cafe. Roy's. Again, lovely, lovely mid-century sign. Ahead of us here we have the Amboy lava fields, and in the middle, right smack dab in the middle of it, we have the culprit of that, the Amboy crater. This is a 250-foot high cinder cone volcano. Not active to my knowledge, but this is also not the time of year you would want to visit it. There is a trail to the top. Bad news I have for you is that it's another 60 miles of desert before we get to the next road, next thing. You do have it on the right fuel tank, right? Yeah. Again, once I get to about Barstow, things will pick up quite a bit, but, yeah. I think it's the Mojave Desert. Much of the territory to the immediate south of here is part of the Marine Corps, Air Ground Combat Center. So yeah, if you need another reason not to join the Marines, this is where you get to train. Looks like that might also be a single point. Um, Meanwhile, so the area we're traveling through right now is part of the Mojave Trails National Monuments. That looks like that was a volcano. Mojave Trails National Monument. I think that's I want to say that's a BLM one. But it's one of the BLM national monuments. Yeah, it's Bureau of Land Management, which means there's no actual amenities here. Just protected land. But you can stay here for free. Well, there's nicer. Oh yeah, I can absolutely try and navigate without GPS, and that's what for the challenge I'll be doing starting next week. There will be no GPS. Yeah, you can absolutely navigate using other means. You can either try to do it purely. So, I mean, your options include trying to do it purely by visual reference. You can do what's called dead reckoning, where you try to guess your location based on what direction you're going and how long you're going in that direction. There's an old-fashioned the old-fashioned system of aerial navigation which uses variable oscillating radio. Is that the correct? It's VOR, or it uses VOR radio stations, which I think that stands for variable oscillating radio. Wow, I was entirely off base. VHF omnidirectional range radio stations that basically there are these back in the post. I think these were mostly built post World War II. They would build these. They'd build these big VHF transmitters at locations, and then you'd have a chart that would tell you where they were, and then you would have to use the you'd have equipment in your airplane that would tell you what direction the VOR is in, and then you fly to it. And then you use your chart to find what direction the next one you want to go to, or the next closest one you want to go to is. Fly to that one, and so forth and so forth. Yeah, I think I remember the Dead Reckoning clue. Anyway, VORs were the primary way of navigating an instrument flight rules. So, essentially what commercial jets use. That was the primary way commercial jets would navigate by going from VOR station to VOR station. That lasted until the adoption of GPS in the 90s. Widespread adoption of GPS in the 90s. GPS itself dates back to the late 70s is when the first GPS units started showing up, and GPS receiver that you would have to carry around with you is the size of a briefcase. I've revised it, the size of a suitcase. And can really only tell you your latitude and longitude. To the south here, we have another lava bed. And another cinder cone called the Pisgah Crater. Here is the site of the Fort Katy borate mine. Borax being a resource that the Mojave Desert's fairly plentiful in. Okay, so this symbol right here on the mini map here, that's a VOR station, and I'm gonna guess that's this installation down here. So to navigate this way, you would have to look up the frequency of each VOR station ahead of time, and then yeah, you use your plane's equipment to navigate from one to another. Maybe that's the VOR station. Anyway. Well, I mean, how desperate a situation you're in if you lose track of the VORs, I guess depends on where you are. I mean, in this case, we're only 200 miles from the Pacific Ocean. Although I guess if you don't know where you are, you wouldn't necessarily know that. To the south, we have the Rodman Mountains Wilderness. And to the southwest is the Newberry Mountains Wilderness. Finally, we're approaching Newberry Springs. Newberry Springs' most famous roadside attraction is the Baghdad Cafe. Which was the subject of a cult movie made in the 80s. Or at least the namesake of a cult movie made in the 80s. I don't know. I haven't seen it, so I don't know what it's actually about. But that's where that would be. Taking a quick break from the figure out where this is on the map. I'll try and pull up a picture, but That's not exactly what a crop circle is, but I'll give you it. Alright. I am not going to be able to pull up any good pictures of it, but just up here... Okay, so we have a couple of interesting things to break up the desert road here. First of which, right here is the remains of a 1960s water park called Rockahula Water Park, also known as Lake Dolores Water Park, depending on what era it's from. Nowadays, it's it's been closed for some time, used as a skate park primarily. See a little bit of what's left. You can see what's left of the lazy river there. Alright, so, and then nestled in a valley up ahead, we have the Calico Ghost Town. Calico was originally founded in 1881 as to service the adjacent silver mine, or to service an adjacent silver mine. The silver itself didn't dry up. The price of silver went down sufficiently, went down to a point that keeping the town open was no longer economical. So it was closed. Walter Knott, owner of the Boysenberry Farm that's now known as Knott's Berry Farm, or that's now known as the theme park Knott's Berry Farm, bought the land and made it into a sort of ghost town theme park type thing. Part of the mine. All right. So we just passed Yermo. Not this, but there, back there is Yermo, California, which I am told is the home of the original Del Taco. So there's something of value. This appears to be a big stockyard for Union Pacific. Here we have a Marine Corps logistics base. I've actually never been to Del Taco. They've got like a they've got a decent, like, they have a very small presence in, like, not California, but I don't. Okay. That's useful. Alright, and here we have the city of Barstow, California. Barstow was originally a sort of transportation hub, and in this case, and it's sort of survived in that means by being the where Interstate 40 and Interstate 15 meet. Landmark of choice for Barstow is going to be the historic Harvey House, a train depot built in 1911. Or a train depot and hotel built in 1911. familiar with Dog's Palace. Dog's Palace. Oh, in Venice. Okay, yeah. Oh, yeah, this building. Okay. Sorry. Just whacked my microphone. Very professional setup we got going here. Speaking of very professional setup, there's whatever the heck this is. According to my map, this is the basin of the Mojave River, which I'm guessing is only seasonal. Or, when it rains, but that's an important piece of art there. Somebody's GA aircraft above us there. $150 miles to go. Alright, coming up nearby, and this is not going to show up in the simulator, I think, but we have California's one of California's most famous roadside attractions on the 66 route. Elmer's Bottle Tree Ranch, I should say. Is a big art installation consisting of bottle trees. These guys. And some other junk. But, you know, you've been traveling through a desert for some time. It's a charming little place to go. Up ahead, we got the San Bernardino Mountains. That's why I am gaining some altitude here. Victorville is home to, you guessed it, another Route 66 museum. This one's called the California 66 Museum. to LA. We're here to San Bernardino. We're going to be snaking through this mountains. Including the Cajon Pass. Tried to set this up so I get to LA at magic hour, but I think we're going to be a bit early. Alright, you didn't see anything. No. No, I'm gonna be landing at Santa Monica Municipal Airport. There's the valley it goes through. I didn't line this up too closely. I haven't been banned from LAX. It's just you don't usually do light aircraft at the big international hub airport. And Santa Monica is a lot closer to where the end of the line is, where the end of the trip is. I can see my shadow. Alright, we did it. We are in LA sprawl. Indeed, I have seen guides suggest that once you get through San Bernardino, you stick to the interstate instead of the actual surface highway, or instead of the actual highway if you want to avoid the infamous Los Angeles traffic. San Bernardino, home to the original McDonald's. So this is where that scourge began. Or, you know, this good thing, I suppose, so inclined. Mystery machine, but it's a car's car. Santa Bernardino is also home to one of two maybe surviving wigwam hotels. This was a chain that existed during the Route 66 heyday, so 50s, 60s, where you could stay in your very own teepee. Bit tacky, but that's mid-century Americana for you. location of that's going to be somewhere around about here. Continuing west, we got Fontana, California. Fontana, we can see this guy on the roadside. Once part of a chain, but this is the only surviving one. Ooh, yeah. Anyway, it's California Speedway. Here we have the community Village of Heritage. Rancho Cucamonga is another historic roadside attraction. The Cucamonga, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, roadside service station. Again, before we got standardized corporate gas station architecture. This one built in 1915, so it predates the Mother Road. In fact. up there is Ontario International Airport. Still some distance from downtown Los Angeles, so that must be a primarily industrial one. There's a London in Ontario, or a London in Ontario, Canada, if you like confusing place names. Here in Claremont is home to the California Botanical Gardens, a 86-acre garden devoted to the native plants of California. This is, we'll pass through Pomona, or well, north of Pomona, really. And Laverne and San Dimas, or we're passing through Laverne and San Dimas. Yeah, it's a gorgeous city. I can understand why people like how it ended up being the way it is. I don't even say, we're not even... Yes, that's San Dimas. Home of Bill and Ted of the Excellent Adventure, Bogus Journey, and whatever the third one's called. Face the music, thank you. have a sand and gravel quarry. This neighborhood is Irwindale. Here is where the San Gabriel River, which appears to be another seasonal dry river, but this is the channel of the San Gabriel River. Alright, we're approaching Monrovia. Okay, so we got Duarte and then Monrovia. Monrovia is home to the 1924 Aztec Motel. Built in a Mayan revival style. In 1924. Has not been open since 2012, but the building's still standing. You can peek in it to get an idea of what it looked like. All right. Well, no, we're not there yet. Okay, we got Sierra Madre and Arcadia. Here's the Santa Anita racing track, which I think might be the one, which I think might be what the racetrack in Grand Theft Auto 5 is based on. That looks like a mall. All right, here we go. Pasadena. You have seen Pasadena in, well, Hollywood loves filming here. Let me say, Pasadena is what Hollywood thinks every town USA looks like. So lots of movies have been filmed here. Back to the Future, Halloween, probably Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. And from Pasadena, the historical Route 66 gets confusing, and oh yeah, Pasadena is also home to California Institute of Technology. From Pasadena, the historic Route 66 went through several alignments. It gets hard to follow. Parts of it aren't marked anymore, and well, LA's got lots of things to show off, so instead of following Route 66, historically, we're just going to take a tour of LA and then wrap it up at the finishing point in Santa Monica. There's the Rose Bowl. Yeah, Rose Bowl Stadium. Near here is the Gamble House, a 1920s arts and crafts mansion. You've seen it in Back to the Future. This is Doc Brown's house. We're going to try to scramble around here to South Pasadena towards Fair Oaks, and it's probably going to be a bit of a mess. Autopilot's not even going to try to do that maneuver. Fuel tank am I on? Okay. Okay, so our last sort of goofy roadside thing near here in Highland Park, we have the Chicken Boy statue. There, up ahead is Dodger Stadium in Elysian Park. And there's the LA River, famous for the concrete channel that was built through the city of Los Angeles. You've seen it in Grease, you've seen it in Repo Man, you've seen it in lots of other things. That is, of course, downtown Los Angeles. There's the City Hall. Again, the turns I tried to program here are too tight for the airplane to actually be able to follow. Pick something slower. Up in front of us here is Sunset Boulevard, as made famous in the city of the same name and also part of Hollywood. Then we have Griffith Park up here. Griffith Observatory. The Hollywood sign, which a lot of people don't know was originally said Hollywood Land. the land letters fell down. It was advertising the Hollywood Land housing project. Here on the other side of Griffith Park, we have Toluca Lake. This is the famous Warner Brothers studio. Backlot. Backlot's been shot just as many times as the soundstage has. And there's Universal Studios Hollywood. Not much of a filming location now, but a pretty good amusement park. They've got Mario stuff. The Hollywood Bowl. Great Civic Amphitheater. And now we get into Hollywood itself. There, of course, is Hollywood Boulevard. That is the location of the farther that way is the location of Grauman's Chinese Theater and the Dolby Theater, where the Oscars are broadcast from. This is the Hollywood Forever Cemetery, where your favorite star is probably buried, or your favorite deceased star. Up ahead we have first up ahead we have the Miracle Mile in Hollywood, which is where a lot of the famous museums in Hollywood or Los Angeles are. First we have the location of the La Brea Tar Pits, and then just past that we have the Academy Museum of Motion Pictures, Los Angeles County Museum of Art, and the Peterson Automotive Museum, all out of this intersection here. Beverly Hills up here. Expensive houses and lots of celebrities. Century City. Alright, here's Westwood, home of UCLA. the famous Getty Museum. Alright, finally, Santa Monica. And coming in rapid succession. First, we have the official end of U.S. Highway 66 at Lincoln and Olympic Boulevard, which is just nothing, really. Right here. Then finally, the proper end of Route 66 at the Santa Monica at the Santa Monica Pier. End of the trail. We made it. And now I have to... Shit. We're gonna fly out over the Pacific for a bit while I get ready for landing. This is not a seaplane, no. And sim froze. Lovely. Whenever it wakes up. Whenever it wakes up, he said. Well, anticlimax. Give me a second here. Oh yeah, we lost it. All right. Yep, we've lost it. Okay, I'm killing this. Okay, just a moment, folks. Um... Alright, well, we certainly can't end the stream like that. And since I don't have work tomorrow, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to try to finish this here. How about... Yeah. Here, we'll start in Burbank. Yeah, all right. Okay, we're going to do a quick... Yeah, we're just going to do a quick visual flight.
Burbank Tower, Cirrus November 117, ready for west departure at runway 26.
Cirrus November 117, altimeter 29902, departure to the west approved. Cleared for takeoff runway 26.
Cleared for takeoff runway 26, Cirrus 117.
Well, thanks. Well, put me on the runway without setting the takeoff flaps. Gee, thanks. This is why I always do cold and dark.
Cirrus 117, continue for west departure.
Burbank Tower, Cirrus November 117, continue for west departure.
Alright, so that was Bob Hope Airport, Parker International Airport in the city of Burbank, California. Burbank is not part of the city of Los Angeles. Why did the GPS... This is why I start cold and dark.
Cirrus 117, leaving my airspace, frequency change approved.
Burbank Tower, Cirrus November 117, frequency change.
Alright, so here we are. We're back. We're back in border of Hollywood and Beverly Hills. I'll try to actually land the plane this time, if the simulator is feeling like it. Well, this is Culver City. I don't know exactly where Sony Pictures is. I did not, like, in my attempt to not have this freeze again, I closed my map, so... Alright, Santa Monica. And of course, here's Santa Monica's most famous feature, the beaches and the pier. Alright, we did it. Let's head out over the Pacific a bit to get me in line with the runway. Okay, good enough. Come around. I see the field, but I'm not in line with it. Looks of it. Let's try this. Let's try this heading. Okay, there's LAX to the on the right side, but that is not where I'm headed. Okay. Center that a little bit. All right. Venice Beach and the canals. Knots. All right, flaps full. Landing lights on. All right, we're not gonna have a repeat of the other time. I am high, but I don't need to lose that much speed. Yeah, to my knowledge, it's called Venice Beach because of the canals. It's still coming in a little hot, but this is a long enough runway. I should be okay. Down we go. Alright, flaps up. Landing lights off. Pitot heat off. Transponder. Standby. Another happy landing. Use the pilot vision to figure out, so I don't feel like having to figure out where to park on my own. Right, come on, turn, turn. All right, let's see if I can get. Okay, and I did not run over the ramp worker. Okay, parking brakes set, landing lights off, ATI's off, fuel pump off, oxygen off, power lever off, mix, cut, transponder off, external lights off, avionics off, alternator, ignition, battery. Yay! There's a low fireworks display for having made it. Alright, well, so that's the end of the Route 66 adventure. We made it. So starting next week, I will be doing the cross-country flight in the I can even show you the aircraft. I don't have anywhere to be. I'll show you the aircraft we're going to be doing. Where is... There we go. Dayton Wright Brothers. All right, this is a Curtiss JN4 Jenny. The Curtiss J series was developed through the mid 1910s. The JN4 first appeared in 1916. It was utilized by the U.S. Army Air Corps as a training craft. 2 seats. Instructor would sit here. Trainee would sit there. And so the U.S. Army ordered a ton of these. World War I ended, and then these all became surplus planes, and became very popular in the 1920s by barnstormer-type pilots. This is the closest thing to what I can get for the That's the closest to what I can get for the correct plane to to replicate the original the first cross-country flight. Here, if I can get it to... This is what the actual plane looks like. That was a Wright Model EX. By aviation standards, a bit more primitive looking, but this is only this plane's only 5 years newer. Anyway, so I'm going to be crossing the country in this guy. The goal is that I am going to try to do it using strictly the onboard compass and charts. No Find My Airplane, or with no like GPS Find My Airplane. And we'll see how that goes. I am going to need to practice using this between now and then, though. And it's a tail dragger, and I historically hate tail draggers, but yeah, we'll see how that goes. So, yes, join me next week. For the foreseeable future, I'm going to be doing Tuesdays and Thursdays at 7. So, yeah. I'll see you in the skies then. Meanwhile, have a good evening, or whatever time of day it is. I'll see you on the next flight.